the true meaning of the Aramaic words, the deeper meanings, with him and translated into English the original Aramaic version of the Bible, which has, by the way, 10 to 12,000 differences from the version that we have often been exposed to, the versions that we have, which have gone through multiple translations in different languages. So this is directly from the Aramaic language. Rocco Errico was his student, and he still lives today down in Atlanta and often teaches metaphysical Bible classes at Hillside, which is a New Thought spiritual center down in Atlanta. And what I have deepened into, and like I said, there are like 7 keys to reading the Bible. You have to understand the Semitic psychology, the people who wrote the book from the Semitic culture, and all about them. And here's what I found out, is that word, the word for he is, that has been interpreted as he is risen, is K-A-M, that's one word, and the other one is L-E-H, Kamla. Those 2 words from the Aramaic translation mean he has succeeded. He has fulfilled his purpose, not he is risen. So when we look at the teachings of stories like the Easter story from the Semitic culture, here they're not interested in facts. We Westerners read things and we take them as fact. In the Semitic culture, they were not written as facts. The stories were written for a purpose. They would take maybe something that happened in history and embellish it, and which they called amplification, to kind of frame it, to make an impression on the mind that we could so we could remember these spiritual teachings. They would use symbolism and idioms and mystical dreams and visions of the writer to pull together a story that would have an impact, that would be remembered, and where we could, something we could contemplate and take within and find out what it means for us. So the intention was for it to be meaningful for us. So let's take a look at that story again from that viewpoint. I'm not going to do the whole story. I'm just going to get the essence of it. So the essence of it, he has achieved his purpose. He has succeeded. So what has he succeeded at? Well, if you look back at what the disciples initially believed in the story, they, even with all the teachings and all the miracles that Jesus performed, they still thought that he was going to be a ruler in the physical realm, that he was going to overthrow the powers that be and become the king or the leader at the physical plane. When he left his body, when the crucifixion, everything took place, they were distraught. They thought, oh my gosh, that's not going to happen. And then the dreams and visions began to come to them. They began to communicate with him through dreams, through visions, and they got the bigger picture. And the bigger picture was that he came here in the earthly plane to introduce something called Christ consciousness to all of humanity. And remember some of the things he said. Ye are God's children of the Most High. What does that mean? Ye are God's children. Look in the Bible, it's there. Ye are God's children of the Most High. He's letting us know that he is not something different from us, that we are all that spirit essence. We are more than the material bodies that we think we are, or even the things that are going on in our lives. We are pure spirit, the divine individualized. And so his mission was accomplished because the people who heard his teachings, and now his disciples, who then became the apostles and started spreading the word, talked about this thing called the Christ mind that's in all of us. It's not just in one person. This is a potential that resides in us. We are that. Okay, so let's breathe that in. So the message then, it's also about the eternality of the spirit that we are. You know, this idea that they communicated and connected with their friend, their master teacher, Jesus, in their dreams and visions. They began to realize, and in that communication, that life is continuous. Yeah, the body drops away, but the spirit that we are is eternal. It's eternal presence. So the other message that he hammered on over and over and over again is the kingdom of heaven is within. It's not out there, someplace you get to after you die. It's something we carry within us. And that means that peace, love, joy, all those experiences that we desire reside within us. They are something that we call forth and generate from within us. He also said, he that believeth on me, and whenever he said, he that believeth on me, the way that translates is what I am teaching. He that believes what I am teaching, the works, and again, the works translates into levels of consciousness. The levels of consciousness that I do or that I have, shall he also do or have. And greater works, greater levels of consciousness than these shall he do. See, when we begin to look at the Aramaic meanings, the deeper meanings, it all starts fitting into the things that we've been teaching all along. This idea of increasing levels of consciousness and awareness as we move away from thinking that we're separate bodies into realizing that we are of the one spirit. We are eternal, unlimited beings of light and unlimited potential. So let's change that. I looked at that and I said, let's change that into the I so that we can own it. So I'm going to translate, let's do it first in terms of works, and then we're going to switch it to levels of consciousness. So I believe in his teaching.
I believe in his teaching.
The works that I do, the works that he did, shall I also do. And greater works than these shall I do. All right, now let's put it in. I'm going to put it into levels of consciousness. I believe in his teaching.
I believe in his teaching.
The levels of consciousness that he attained,
The levels of consciousness that he attained,
I shall attain.
I shall attain.
And even greater levels of consciousness
And even greater levels of consciousness
shall I attain.
shall I attain.
Yeah. All right, I'm getting guide bumps. See, that to me is, okay, we're talking truth here. We're talking truth. Okay, so two things that are required in order to experience greater levels of consciousness. I got this from my friend Walter Starkey. I've been reading his awesome book called It's All God. So he said, in order to have these experiences of greater levels of consciousness, he said we have to stop seeing Jesus as a person in a body and realize that he is eternal being while in a body who introduced Christ consciousness, as I said, to the collective consciousness. And also, that means that we are something more than a body that is born and dies, that we contain Christ consciousness. And so he said, this is the second thing. The second thing in order to attain greater levels of consciousness is to love yourself enough to realize that you are the Christ individualized. So it's an end to thinking that you'll be more lovable if you improve some way. We don't have to improve to be more lovable. We are lovable just as we are. So look at somebody next to you and tell them you are lovable just like you are. And then I'd like you to respond to them, thank you for noticing. I am awesome. That's a carryover from last week. So here is something that I've noticed is when I think of God as a concept, I slip into separation. But when I realize that the God that I'm talking about is an experience, I feel connected. When I feel love, like I do when I look upon all of you, I feel great love for all of you. I am having a God experience. When I feel inner peace, when I bring my mind back to a state of peace, I'm having a God experience. When I jump for joy, like I have a great time, I'm having a God experience. Isn't that what it's all about? And the cool thing is we can choose it any time, no matter what the circumstances are. I've learned a lot by observing my grandchildren. They find joy wherever we are. They don't care if we've gone to some exotic place or whatever, or whether they're at home and at our house or wherever they are. They choose joy. They just automatically choose joy. Now, sometimes they have their moments, but then they return to joy. They return to joy again and again, just like we can. So, to me, this is enlightened consciousness. You know, we're born with it, and somehow we forget it at times, and then we come back to it. It's the experience of that connection with one another when we look in each other's eyes and just feel our hearts just go, you know. And we can do that. You know, all-inclusive love means we can do that with anyone, anywhere on the planet. You know, I experience that when I travel, like when I was in India, and we connect with people on the street. You know, that connection and that love that's just kind of instantaneous as we just share with somebody who we are and who they are and just have a conversation. So the God experience available to us in any moment. So the beautiful thing about scriptures, whether it's the Bible or whether it's the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or whatever it is if we go to it and read it with the question of what is the message for me in this, whatever it is I'm reading, then it'll come alive for us in a new way that it never has before. And so I want to read to you a poem written by a man by the name of John Post, who was appointed by the court to a recovery program, and then in the process discovered a new thought spiritual center like ours, and began to wake up. And so here's his poem, and this is his take on the Easter story. It's called Rocks on the Road. Here I am stumbling when I should be standing, crawling when I should be running, crying when I should be laughing. The road ahead wide open and smooth, the goals so clear and tempting, the journey so easy if I allow it to be, except the rocks I throw in my own road, holding me back, slowing me down, making difficult the things that should be so easy. The mural that is the rest of my life, still just a blank white wall, with ghostly outlines traced in places, a hint of what lies ahead, waiting for the color and texture that comes with living it. A blank slate, a white wall, except for the rocks thrown there by myself. Clear the way, quit creating my own hurdles, quit holding myself back, see the picture, live the colors, feel the texture, be alive again. The man inside wants out. Kindness and warmth live here. Music and laughter live here. The mural hidden but still real, waiting to be revealed. Hiding behind the rocks I place in my road. So what are the rocks that you place in your road? You know, in our teaching, yeah,
So I have a whole list.
yeah. But what we teach in New Thought and Science of Mind is that it's the thoughts that are the origin of the blocks that we throw in the road. Erroneous thinking. Erroneous thinking. And here is what I've learned, is that erroneous thoughts cause stress. They cause stress. Erroneous thinking. Truth thinking creates peace. So that to me is the telltale sign of, if I'm caught up in something that's causing me stress in my own mind, I am off track. I'm totally caught up in erroneous thinking. When I shift it to thoughts that bring me peace, then I know that I'm in alignment with who I am. It's in our thought world. And guess who has the power to change it at any moment? Kim. Right, our thinking. That's one of the reasons why I really love our teaching, and I love the work by Byron Katie, because it just goes right to that. When we feel a stressful thought, is it true? Well, how do I live if I believe that thought? And when we find out we're living a stressful life, then okay, who would I be if I didn't have that thought, or if I had the opposite thought, you know? And then we begin to see how we can design a life that is in alignment with the Christ nature that we are in truth. That presence of peace and love and joy. You know, the Christ nature is about the God experience that I was talking about mastering the mind, using the mind as a tool for evolution, so that we can more fully embody those beautiful qualities of peace, love, joy, wisdom that we talk about. So, I want to tell you a little bit about a man by the name of Sai Baba, and I saw his pictures plastered all over the place when we were in India. He's a modern-day mystic, and he demonstrated this type of consciousness that we're talking about. He lived as a being he was a being who demonstrated being a living miracle. Yes, this is him.
He looks very fun.
Yeah. So this is one of the things he did. He manifested things out of the formless. I don't know if you've seen the dust called vibhuti that they would just manifest in their hands out of the formless. Sometimes pieces of jewelry or other kinds of things. But he was able to do that, and also people healed in his presence. A Western reporter once interviewed him and asked him, "Are you God?" And he said, "Yes, I am. And so are you. But the difference between you and me is that I know it and you doubt it." This is a quote. So you, my friends, are God in person, a being of light. Why do you doubt it? Why do you doubt it? You are eternal beings in a body temporarily in order to expand your consciousness. Why do you doubt it? You are the light of the world, just as Jesus was. Why do you doubt it? So Jesus knew these things, and Sai Baba knew these things, and many other great masters, spiritual masters, know these things. So here's what my prescription is for it. That is to spend more time focusing on who we are in truth instead of our old story. I did a lot of contemplating the other day. Dan was like, "You're so quiet. I'm not getting much more than a grunt out of you." And I was really contemplating all of this. And and some old stories that kind of come back into my mind that that cause me pain and discomfort. And I'm thinking, why do I do that? Why? So anyway, so here's my theory, and I've seen this happen with myself because, yes, I have my moments, but here's what I focus on doing is, as much as possible, remind myself who I am in truth. Stay focused on my truth and my reality instead of the story, the old story that causes stress. We have lots of other tools, but that one is a really easy one to remember because where your attention goes, the creative energy goes. Creative energy goes. We create what we focus on. A spiritual principle that will really save us from a lot of heartache. I love what Rumi says. Again, this is just so beautiful. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. These are mind-blowing concepts for the spirit, for the human mind, but for the spirit mind that we are, that makes a whole lot of sense. So here's something that I'm just going to invite you to consider. I refuse to allow the rocks to define my life in the present. I let my story of woundedness go. So if you're ready to do this, I invite you to stand, put your arms in powerful mode, straight up, and repeat after me. I refuse to allow the rocks to define my life.
I refuse to allow the rocks to define my life.
I let go of my story of woundedness.
I let go of my story of woundedness.
I am an eternal, infinite being.
I am an eternal, infinite being.
In an earth suit.
In an earth suit.
Even as my body ages.
Even as my body ages.
My spirit is eternal and whole.
My spirit is eternal and whole.
I am universal creative intelligence.
I am universal creative intelligence.
My thoughts and beliefs create my reality.
My thoughts and beliefs create my reality.
I take responsibility for my life.
I take responsibility for my life.
And I learn how to create consciously.
And I learn how to create consciously.
I am abundance.
I am abundance.
And practice the principles of abundance.
And practice the principles of abundance.
I am love.
I am love.
Beautiful. You may have a seat. So, you, my friends, are God individualized. So here is my here are my encouraging words to you. Is that you decide to go out and live it. It's a decision. You have the power of decision. It's to decide in this moment, I am going to go out and live this truth more fully than I ever have before. And to not let the old story define me. I'm going to draw upon a personal story here. My husband, Dan, many of you know him. What you may not know about him is that he exemplifies what I'm talking about. His family, I know enough about his family history because I learned a lot of it from his mother, actually. But his family got caught in the web of addiction. His mother, father, and brother, all of them. And all of them died at an early age. With all of that in mind, he does not let that define him. Right, Dan? He sees himself as a happy person, and he is a contributor to life. And I watch him with my grandchildren and the way he supports me. He really lives that, even though he doesn't call himself a spiritual person. We're all spirit. Right, Dan? Truth, that's our truth. So, any of us, it doesn't matter what our background is or what our past is, we get to choose to define ourselves according to the God essence that we are instead of our story. We get to choose to be happy. We get to choose to be peaceful. We get to choose to love. We have that at our beck and call. And Jesus' life was an example of that, of defining. He defined himself according to his spirit essence, not his body. He was there to share a message of power, of empowering people to be who they are in truth, beings of love and peace and joy and contributors to life. So I have one final story. So there was a young nun who worked for a local home health care agency, and she was on her rounds one day when her car ran out of gas. So there was about a block away. She walked to the nearest gas station and got there, hoping she could get a can from him, fill it up and bring it back, and he didn't have a gas can. So she suddenly got an idea. So she walked back to her car, pulled a bedpan out of the back that she was going to take to a patient, took it to the gas station, filled it with gasoline, carried it back, and then started pouring it into the gas line. And meanwhile, across the street, there were two men who were watching this whole thing. And one of them looked at the other one and he said, I have great doubts about the stories about Jesus turning water into wine. But if that car starts, I'm going to be a believer. So I just invite you to own who you are. An individualized expression of the divine. When Shirley MacLaine said, "I am God," years ago, and people got so shocked by it, many of us realize when she said that, she meant everything is God. We are God individualized. If that makes you feel better than saying, "I am God," then do it that way. But the truth is, we are the life of God individualized. Ye are God's children of the Most High. These things that I do, even greater things you shall do. The message from the master teacher himself. So I say, let's own it. Does everybody get it? Yeah. Say, I got it.
Got it.
Okay, now go out and live it. Yeah. And so it is.